Warning, this content is for entertainment and educational purposes only. What's up, everybody?
Good morning.
I threw everybody off with the 12 start instead of 11.
Because we're mourning the loss of football.
I mean, let's be honest. The main reason I was starting at 11, I was trying to say it was to accommodate the guys in Thailand, but that had nothing to do with it. I don't give a fuck about that. The Commanders start at 1 usually, so that's why I shifted. I did shift to Sunday so Chase could be on, and then Chase doesn't come on anymore. Poor Chase has been sick. He had a really bad case of the shingles. People were asking why he hasn't been on.
Yeah,
he's been hit pretty hard.
That's awful.
He was. Josh says, "Oh, wait a minute, I missed that one." Dave's bringing the sexy back. I got my blue collar bodybuilding right here.
Oh yeah,
representing.
And I got a giant box of anabolic stuff in my basement, anabolic bodybuilding stuff in my basement.
Dave and I people keep asking me about t-shirts. Dave and I are going to sell t-shirts at some point. I bought them like 3 years ago.
I know.
I'm waiting for Dave to retire so he can open up a t-shirt company and be my t-shirt distributor.
I got my business sold, so step one is out of the way. End of the month, we clean up on it.
I thought about doing t-shirts myself, but the thought of packing and shipping stuff in my garage every day, like, nah.
Yeah.
That's too much work for me.
Well, you gotta have the system. Like if you're just like printing Jimmy rigging bags, and like if you don't have a little system to make it quick.
You can get the drop ship ones, but I've seen those. The quality on those just suck.
Yeah, you don't want. That's not worth it. Yeah.
And then you make like $1 off of each one. So it's not even worth it. I wouldn't even sell them for the money. Honestly, it's just if I'm going to sell shirts, I want them to be high quality. I don't want them to be some shit thing. You know, like the ones that have the print on them where they stick to your chest.
What? You don't want to come up with your own brand of clothing like Wolves and sell a pair of sweatpants for $200?
I would love to. I'm a capitalist, Colin. Fuck that, man. If I could get people to buy the shit and
hey,
welcome, burn the midnight oil to be here with us.
Yeah, it's like 3 a.m.
My goodness.
Sorry to pull the Lucy on you and grab the football and move it. It wasn't.
No.
I had decided to start later today. I had to get Costco in, guys. That's why. What's up, Kurt?
Hey, Kurt.
What's up, Kurt?
All right, I figured I would talk about some bodybuilding stuff today. People are pissed that I've been.
We do that here.
Yeah. People, I heard the audience that I was talking too much about barbecue and other shit. Aliens, they want to talk about bodybuilding. Let's see, there was a couple things that were going on this week. Did you guys see Hadi? He posted a picture of his lats.
Yeah, Hadi's lats and triceps are looking a little touchy.
Yeah, I mean, I've always heard that he was the SEO guy. I'm gonna pull a picture up, but Elvira is here for the barbecue. Elvira, you're a good man. I love barbecue too, man. We can talk about barbecue.
Josh makes me laugh.
I can always tell when we lose the audience too, because you can tell by the pace at which the comments are coming in.
Yeah, yeah.
If they're coming in fast and furious, things are good. And if they just stop all of a sudden, I'm like, fuck, we're.
Or they're coming in fast and furious about what the fuck are you talking about? I think the last time I saw that was when we had Mr. Planet Mike on the show.
Planet Mike, oh god, God, that dude's had some epic content up lately. He's been getting some social media.
He got called
fame.
out on Penguin 01 or whatever YouTube channel, like 15 million followers. That dude Charlie, if he focuses on you, oh no.
Oh man, yeah. Look at. I don't know. What do you guys think's going on there? I don't know.
I mean, we've all seen worse though. Like we've all seen much more.
Derek's when he had the giant lumps on him.
Yes.
I don't understand. Kurt and I were talking about it. I don't know, before our last live Q&A for the Anabolics e-course. Shameless plug there, folks. You can pick it up. It is still. I think the winter sale still running. Winter 20 if you want to get 20% off of it. But we were talking about like there's a lot of pro bodybuilders that like to shoot in the lats. They put their gear in the lats. I guess it's a way to hide lumps. But I don't know, man. There's so many nerves and blood vessels and stuff in there. I'd be terrified to put them in my lats.
Honestly,
how the fuck do you reach it?
I just started actually after this show, so like the past 10 weeks I'll put small amounts in my lats, but yeah, it's a pain in the ass trying to get it there. But it's like butter. It's kind of a virgin muscle for me, so it just goes right in and got no issue.
Oh, you mean it doesn't have all the scar tissue when you're stabbing it in? It feels like you're tearing apart a t-shirt.
Yeah.
You have so much scar tissue you can't even like finish the injection.
Yeah. Gotta jiggle it around. I love who's critiquing Hadi though. This guy that's famous for his
Armand. I don't have a problem with Armand, but it's fun. Well, the picture disappeared, so that was the only one I could find. I think they took it down.
Oh, he posted another one. I think on Instagram yesterday. His arms are straight out in it though, and they still touch. Like even with his arms, it looks a little bit better with his arms straight out, but his lats and his triceps are still touching. Like it's
look at that tricep over here on this side.
Yeah.
There's definitely something going on there.
Yeah, it looks like he's been hit with a Photoshop tool. I mean, I'm not saying like that is the case, but it's like something's off.
And look, man,
Photoshop gone wrong.
I don't mean to beat up on the guy. I mean, he's fucking one of the best bodybuilders in the world, like 2 or 3. But
my favorite.
I like Hadi a lot. I mean, dude gets he's about the only dude in the open that gets shredded.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you pull up his Instagram, the picture he posted yesterday is actually it's interesting.
All right, let me find Hadi here. Oh, there's Hadi. Oh, damn it! Hang on, give me a second. I'll find it.
I think it's just like anything else. You got to have balance. Like I really don't have a problem with the guys, some of the more advanced guys. You know, like when they were picking on Rami for using a little SEO, it's like he's just pinpointing these small positions. He's not trying to blow out his arms like you see these SEO freaks on Google that you Google. You know, and it's that's the point. Is if they're filling in a small little weakness and it works for them, that's great. But if you mess it up, you should be penalized. I don't see why not. You know.
Yeah.
Here's his page.
Agreed.
Yeah,
it's like anything else.
The one with the grass behind it.
Wife and his kids, man. The unibrow runs strong in his family.
Oh, come on, man.
I'm just saying.
Oh, Jesus.
I got the ugliest face on the planet, man. I got a big old fat head and a big nose. This one.
Yeah, the outside.
Sorry,
yeah,
I shouldn't talk about his kids.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a big motherfucker.
Yeah, it's insane.
He's huge.
Yeah.
The size of his legs.
You know,
insane.
Wow.
You talk about world class. There it is.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, what's crazy though is he's only on stage at like what did I hear, like
225?
Yeah, something like that.
Just goes to show muscle insertion
just
is
me,
so
man.
important.
It wasn't just me.
Well, it's not surprising. Would anyone be surprised he uses a little bit of SEO or whatever? I mean, the guy is the definition of he'll do anything to be the best on the planet.
I mean, that's the dirty
Yeah.
little secret of bodybuilding that nobody ever wants to talk about. Everybody uses SEO,
Right.
man. It's just they just all do.
I I was going to use it for the first time for my next prep if everything that happened didn't happen. But yeah, it's meant to be pretty useful.
Mhm.
Just yeah, polishing the physique.
Yeah, I've used it in the past. I've used a little bit of it in my arms just because like when I get really depleted at the end of prep, I lose some fullness. But then like Kurt last year on my prep, like it was like I don't know. I usually start about 4 weeks out.
You could see it bleeding down.
Yeah, Kurt's like, man, you can see it on your brachialis. I
You
think
mean
it was
like
brachialis,
moving?
wasn't it?
It was like
When he
moving
would
down on you?
when he would hit a back double by, you could you should see where the shoulder ties in to the arm, and it was blurry, but he was lean enough that you should see that. It wasn't like a fat issue
Uh,
because he was lean everywhere else. It was just the tiniest bit of like film under his skin. So I asked him if he was pinning in his shoulders because it looked like sometimes it'll track. That's what it looked like, but it was the SEO, I guess, that was tracking.
Yeah, it was the SEO I was using in my bicep, my outer bicep head.
I just figure for nationals, that's the kind of stuff that's gonna matter.
Yeah, no, I yanked it out. I pulled it out about 3 weeks out, and then it cleaned up. Yeah, I don't know. I got big arms anyway. I don't know why. I just like I have zero bicep peak, and it always bothers me. I'm like, maybe I can get a little more bicep peak if I put a little bit in there. But I've used Boston's 3cc, the one with the arachidonic acid in it. I think it is.
Yeah.
There's different formulations, but according to Roman, that's what all the guys use.
And I think that's supposed to drive like inflammation to the adironic acid or whatever they call it. It's supposed to make it look inflamed, not just all oil.
And what was that shit that Ilya Golem and Rich Piana was using? I forget the name of it. I did a video about it. The stuff that was the dermafiller.
Hyaluronic.
It wasn't Ecosline or whatever. I can't remember what it's-
It was that
Yeah.
shit that's the plastic beads. You would know about it, Amy. That they use it in
Oh.
plastic surgery.
Yeah, well, they don't use it in plastic
microbeads.
surgery. They use it in like dental stuff. Like I feel
Yeah.
like that it's like dermal. It's like a dermal compound that they use for like building stuff up in dental procedures primarily. Yeah, that's freaky. That video that you did was eye opening to me. I didn't really know as much about that world of injection until
the
watching
name
your
is-
video.
Yeah, the name of it's totally. I did some research on it and interview.
Yeah.
Well, talked to some people in private, and they were telling me you can look at the guys that use that shit. You can see it like their muscles never contract or relax. They just look like they're full. Like if you look at Piana, he looked like he was flexed at all time, even when he was relaxed.
Yeah.
And from what I understand, like he couldn't lift. His muscles got so stiff, like he couldn't lift that much weight. Like he was just like having, the guys that are having to use the 20-pound dumbbells for curls and shit. God damn it! Man, the cat's going wild there.
Yeah, sorry, I'm gonna mute myself. I'm sorry.
I'm trying to remember the name of it. It has an acronym. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head.
Oh, there we go. Someone in the comments, PMMA.
PMMA, that's it. Yep. PMMA. That's the shit. That's some fucking crazy stuff. It's permanent. And they use it, from what I recall, they use it as a scaffolding for tissue collagen to form around, and it's a microplastic. It's a silicone-based microplastic, and they inject it.
Screw that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
dude, and collagen forms around it. So, like, you have this permanent addition. So, evidently, Rich Piana was going down to Mexico and just getting tons of it put in. And he, from what I understand, he taught, I think Ilya Golem was his protege. But the guys that have this, evidently, it ends up causing, like, massive issues with their kidneys and shit.
Well,
from
yeah.
what
like the toxic load of that. I mean, people are freaking out now that there's microplastics in tea bags.
Yeah.
But there's bodybuilders literally injecting it into themselves. Like when we do like a facelift on somebody who's had, it's called Sculptra is the brand name for it, which is like a dermal matrix like that. Like you inject it super deep, like right on the periosteum, and then it kind of, encourages collagen synthesis in the area. Like we actually have to cut it out. It's a problem. I mean, and there's these crazy fillers people do along their jawline too. And like, there's a lot of crazy fillers in the cosmetic world, but it's nothing like what bodybuilders do.
Yeah, polymethyl methylcrylate is the stuff. You can look it up if you want it. But there was a girl. Oh God, I'd heard about this. She was a competitor, might have been a wellness competitor that had her glutes done, and then it ended up having one of her glutes like fucking amputated.
Fuck that.
Oh, well, you can still get infection and abscess. I mean, and injecting in the glutes is especially dangerous because of major blood supply there. You could get a PE. I mean, like it shocks me that people are just like out in the wild injecting like crazy dermal matrix into the glutes. Like,
whereas like the SEO is more temporary. It's just oil or the some of the stuff just causes localized inflammation and then it goes away.
Yeah. And you could still hypothetically get a fat embolus from an SEO injection, but it would be so much more rare and like would be probably just get a little bit of like thrombophlebitis in the area and it would be kind of cleared up more quickly. But you put something that's permanent in there and you get it into a major blood supply, like that's a real problem.
Well, not only that, you messed it up. Now you screwed up your physique for life. I mean,
how you gonna get that out?
Yeah, Alvaro says, I remember some Brazilian chick had PMMA on her legs and got it so bad she ended up with a hole in her leg and went viral a few years back. Jesus Christ, man.
I mean, if you're not metabolizing it and it's staying permanent, it just sounds terrible. I mean, I'd like something to metabolize, get out of me so I can at least fix a mistake.
Have you heard, I mean, I've talked about this before, but Milo Sarchev, his story about when he accidentally SEO into his vein.
Terrifying. Yeah.
Yeah, he said he almost died, ended up in the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I guess had a pulmonary embolism from it. I don't remember the exact story. My God, all right, transitioning into other things. Have you guys seen Samson lately?
Yeah, I saw he posted a
Looking
picture on
incredible.
Instagram like yesterday. It was looking insane.
I mean, his back, like his back was his weakness before.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how much he's brought up his back. This picture on the
amazing.
left was 2 weeks out from the Olympia. This is 2 weeks out from the Arnold. How can you? I mean,
how can you beat that?
His glutes, his back, everything's improved.
Yeah. His
was,
back's more developed.
2 days out from the Olympia, the one on the left. His issue is like even like that one on the 2 days out from the Olympia, he just looks watery still.
His posing's better too. He's opening his scapula up in the new one. Whereas the last one is a bit bunched up.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, doing kind of like how Chris Bumstead poses his back double bicep, kind of like you do a bit of like a kyphotic kind of position and then open that's what he's doing. Yeah, but he's undoubtedly bigger too.
Post that picture Lucas is talking about of him with his wife. It's a front shot.
Yeah, hang on. I'll bring that one up.
His waist doesn't budge at all.
This is nuts too.
It's crazy.
2016 to 2024.
Wild.
Yeah.
Natty or not. You seen this one? Yeah. Let's see. There's the one.
Yeah, that's the one that took my attention yesterday.
Yeah.
I just like. I mean, we'll see what he looks like at the Arnold. I don't.
Yeah.
The only way. Nobody's going to beat him on size. There's just no fucking way anybody's going to beat him on size.
So if he doesn't fuck his prep up,
he just has a hard time. What do you like? I've heard he like basically eats nothing when he's getting ready for shows too. What do you think his reason for not getting hard is, Kurt? What do you think's going on? Like he has a really hard time getting dry and hard.
Well, what's he running into a show?
I mean, we know.
Is he running a gram of test into a show?
I mean, we know rumors. I don't want to, but
no, I'm just saying that's where I would go first. Is what his protocol is. I mean, I heard what they said. I don't know if I believe what was said about his cycle?
Yeah, I mean it was pretty moderate. What I heard. I heard that he was like around a gram a test going into a show.
I mean,
that's
that
what I
would be
ran.
my first call out, would be running a gram of test into a show.
Yeah, maybe he needs to go a little bit lower. Fullness has never been an issue with him, right?
No, I mean, if he kept GH in, you're not going to lose a fullness without drop the test.
Yeah, getting hard. Yeah, I don't know how you work at Kurt, but what I found is like guys that tend to be wet. I lean into the DHT and compounds and Tren really hard, and then basically maybe even no test at the end.
I would pull the test. I pull the test all together for most guys.
And then guys that flatten out, I'll be more aggressive with the test.
But you could, I mean, but if you run even 3 units of GH in, you should keep your fullness.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, also, if you believe what they're saying, like what he claims on Fuad's podcast, that he allows like Merrick to dictate his blood work to dictate his usage. Maybe he's more looking at his blood work than really the mirror sometimes. So maybe where they say you should have a little higher testosterone, a little less DHT, when we would prefer the other way around to produce a harder look, it's just not what he's doing.
Yeah.
How can you use blood work to predict? Like, what on blood work is going to tell you to use Mastron or not use it?
Oh, I don't know. Just based on that's what they're saying is how good his blood work is depends on how hard he kind of pushes, I guess.
I mean, if the cycle I saw was real, I was stunned at how little he uses for as big as he is.
Possible. He might only use that amount, and he's gifted. So
yeah, he is that. I mean, look at him in 2016.
Well, I think that was talked about before too. It's not necessarily what they use now; it's what they use to get there.
Yeah, I heard.
Who cares what he uses now?
I heard Jewett talking about that on.
Same thing with John.
Podcast.
John doesn't need to use a lot now.
Well, I mean, John was talking about like how there comes a point in time where you have to, push to get to a certain size, but then like once you're there, it's not. Yeah, I mean, you and I know
it's very easy to hold it once you have it.
It's easy to hold. Like I've I would say, I mean, Colin, you see me. I'd say I've held 90% of what I have at just 300 milligrams of test a week.
Yeah, I'm on basically TRT now. This tomorrow will be 17 weeks.
Right.
I haven't lost anything. I lost 3 whopping pounds for my cycle 17 weeks ago.
Yeah.
People flip the shit out.
It required
300 milligrams of test is TRT.
It seems so silly.
That's why I call it
syringe to put this much test.
People are like, that's not TRT, that's a cycle. And I'm like, all right, whatever, man. Fuck. It's bodybuilding TRT. So that's what I call it now. They're like, what's bodybuilding TRT? And I'm like, it's a term I made up, motherfucker.
Yeah. Well, 250 test, 300 test ain't TRT either, if you really think about it.
250 is.
Yeah. But still on the high end for most men.
It's nothing to do with, this is where guys get confused. So what we define as super physiological versus physiological is not to do with where it lines up with natural production. It has to do with the response from it. So for the average person, they're not going to get any more growth at a 250 than they would if they fix their freaking diet or if their hormones were good.
True.
300 is where the majority of humans will grow muscle that they wouldn't naturally. People want to debate that all day long. That's how we define super physiological. That's not necessarily how people on the internet want to define it, but medically, that's why it's defined at 300 or more, super physiological. It's not like, on 200, my blood level is 2,600 nanograms. That doesn't make a difference. You're not necessarily, blood level doesn't dictate the whole thing either, because if you have a low amount of classic androgen receptors and you take 100 milligrams of test, your blood level might be really high. That doesn't mean it's acting on anything, just floating in serum.
Right. It's just floating around.
It means nothing. People need to get over the blood work stuff. It doesn't mean what you think it means. Look in the mirror. That's what matters. And especially if you feel it. Guys like, well, I take 150 and I feel it. That's not a good thing. It means you don't have classic ARs. It's hidden. It's non-genomic at that point. So it's not defined just as in, we produce 10 milligrams, anything over 10 milligrams a day is super physiological. That's not how that dosing works.
Gotcha.
We call that scared urologist giving 100 milligrams.
we were, Kurt and I were talking about it on our another shameless plug, the Anabolics e-course Q&A this week. You can be a part of it if you join. We were talking about it this week, the silly doses that we see, the 78 milligrams, so 2 times a week from the TRT docs. I'm like, where the fuck did they come up with this shit?
Well, that's
There's
the
a
new guidelines just came out for testosterone sipping. Let me see if I can find. Let me send them to you. It's really crazy. It has the for people transitioning too on there.
there's a Reddit forum that I stumbled across last year. I think it was in like November, and it's a bunch of, I guess you could call them incels that are on TRT. Let's just put it that way. And they're basically it's the thread's titled "What's your TRT dose?" And everyone's saying, "Oh, I do 30 milligrams twice a week, and I feel great. My endocrinologist lowered me from 80 milligrams or something." You know, I'm thinking, what's the point of running anything if you're running 30 milligrams twice a week?
One chick,
That'll put you as subclinical.
yeah, your LH is not a negative 0.3. Like it ain't doing it. It's just it's like
Yeah.
it's mixing with the endogenous.
Well, they're definitely going to be incels if they're taking 30 milligrams twice a week because the dick won't get hard.
It is.
Sorry, I probably just get demonetized for that. Hopefully. But the algorithm will probably let that one go.
Yeah, we're far enough into the episode for it to be missed.
To be missed. I'll just voluntarily demonetize. Save myself the hassle. I'm pretty sure I'm shadow banned anyway. The shit doesn't show up in people's. All right. Another thing I wanted to talk about is, did you guys see the new IFBB rule on competing, or on the pro cards, like the how can you? It was as a TRT incel, I resent that statement. Yeah, the IFBB basically put a rule out where you have to be active in the IFBB, and if you're inactive for after 3 years, I think you lose your status, and you have to requalify to be a pro.
But just to clarify, can you not compete for 3 years but keep paying your fees and keep your pro card?
That's where
That's
the
what it
ambiguity.
seems like.
That's what I thought
Yeah.
it was. Yeah.
That's where the ambiguity is. Like the way I read it, it seems that way. But they said they were trying to encourage more people to compete. They're trying to discourage the people. I got my pro card and then they never compete as a pro.
Yeah. That means all the old school guys are no longer pro IFBB pros.
Yeah,
Oh, I put the dosing thing in the group chat if you want to.
Hey, Ryan.
Hey, what's up, Nick?
What's up, Brian?
Except for I am.
Here's my thing with it, man. Like I think it's probably a money grab, and I'm probably going to piss people off saying this, but it's probably just to make sure people keep their pro card active and they can grab more money. Now I put a video up about how easy it is to get a pro card there. And maybe it was their response to this. There's been a lot of people bitching, including like I even heard Jake Cutler made a video about it, but like too many people getting pro cards. And I did a video this past week on the math on it, and it's actually like, I don't know where people come up with this thing. There are roughly in the open division, like regular pro cards, I think it was 45 regular pro cards in bodybuilding are given out in the United States every year. 45, and you got to think that is for open and 212. Those guys are going to be competing in both the open and the 212, and then there's probably like a third of those dudes that are never even going to step on stage.
At least
I have never been to a pro show where there's been more than 15 or 16 guys in the open ever. So it's not like there's a plethora of guys stepping on the stage in the open. And hell, I think the Detroit Pro last year, what was there, like 7 or 8 guys? They were having a hard time getting enough dudes on stage.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, with that said, there are 8,000,001 men's physique competitors.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. There's like 70 bikini competitors.
And there's now how many, I don't know how many women's divisions there are. There are a ton of those. But so they're clear. Clearly there's going to be more cards handed out in those divisions. Like the men's physique, or I'm sorry, classic physique. There's all the different classes within the classic physique division. So I don't know, but yeah, I don't know. My thought on it is if they want to do it, maybe they should have some sort of competition requirement where you have to compete every couple of years. I honestly, to me personally, I don't feel like a pro until I've stepped on stage. And have actually competed as a pro. I feel like the pro card is just like getting drafted in the NFL. You aren't an NFL player until you set foot on the field.
It's like your provisional license, and you don't get
Yeah.
opens until you actually do the thing. Yeah, I get what you mean.
Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe that would be a way for them to fix it. Would be to say, you're not a pro. You're not officially a pro until you compete as a pro. I don't know.
Yeah, I just
And
look
then
at
you
it
have a
like,
certain amount of years to qualify. To cement that status.
I was going to say, I look at it like if there's no competition requirement and it's just a matter of keeping up with your card, I don't think there's much for the athletes to complain about. Like if you just
No.
if you decide not to compete, and what job do I get to keep my license and only pay for it when I decide I want to use it or have the job? It's like I'm a
remember
CDL
when
driver. I can't just decide I'm not going to pay my renewal fees or my continuing ed until I decide to drive a truck the next morning.
Yeah, I remember when I won mine, they sent me, there was like I don't know, there was like instructions they handed to you afterwards. I think it was you had 1 year to register. And then if you didn't register, you have to requalify. And then the actual pro card membership fee, I think it's like $400 a year, something like that.
You should have one show that's like a Royal Rumble. It's like 100 guys competing that you've never seen before. You have to do it to keep up with it, and it's free. You don't got to pay.
Well, I don't know.
anything.
There doesn't seem to be a plethora of guys competing at the pro level. I've been to pro shows, and I mean, like you've been to you've been to the New York Pro recently?
Me?
Kurt?
No.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, there's
it's not that many people there.
No, there are like 12, 15 open guys. There might be 10, 12, 212 guys, 10, 15 classic guys. I mean, it's not like, and then a lot of the shows now don't even have open.
Yeah.
A lot of the pro shows, like I think there's only like a half dozen shows here in the U.S. or so that actually have an open division. It's usually just men's physique or classic or women's stuff.
Paul, I'm getting called to go.
All right, see you, man.
Thank you guys. Sorry about
Hi,
that.
Kurt.
Yeah, so I don't know what the answer is. I mean, I've thought about it. Look, I hear people, the complaints. It's not like it was in the 90s.
Nothing is.
Yeah,
Right.
but you hear that with everything and anything. Like, I
It's
mean,
nostalgia.
our parents will say, "Oh, the world's just not the same as it was when we were young," and then their generation, like their parents said the same thing. It's just,
Yeah.
people reminiscing.
Again, if you're going to compete, then you got nothing to complain about. You're competing. You're going to need a card. You're going to compete. Nothing for you to worry about. If you're not going to compete, what are you bitching about?
Yeah, I mean, you still won your show, so what the fuck does it matter? I don't know. The way I look at it, I think the solution, if I were in charge, I would say you got X number of years to step on stage if you want to solidify your, to actually call yourself an IFBB pro, and otherwise, it's just you weren't.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just that simple. I think that's the simple answer. And somebody said we put another 50 pounds on Big Paul, he can win then Arnold. Yeah, I got a long ways to go, man. Samson's got about 50 pounds on me.
I
Marty,
think there has been some. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead.
No, just the general confusing messages that have been coming out about, like, from the NPC and the IFBB. I mean, the issue with the fit of the women's fit model suits this past weekend. I mean, it's like they need someone managing their PR a little bit better, because they put out these statements that then confuse everybody, and then it's just all this, hoopla about kind of nothing, and all of this could have been prevented by better PR management in the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it is a business. I get, and people complain about it used to be such a niche thing back in the 80s and 90s. I mean, there were only a handful of pro competitions each year. There were like 3 or 4 pro shows.
Yeah.
And then the Olympia. So it was a very small niche thing. And it's more, I think more people involved in the sport, more people in it is better. And it is a business. They're running a business at the end of the day. But yeah, they do put out some confusing information. It does seem like I think it confuses the competitors. I did see the first fit model show, or they had that up.
Yeah.
That's where all the confusion were, because the girls were wearing different suits, right? Nobody was.
Well, and here's the problem. Tyler Mannion actually said in his initial statement about Fit Model, introducing Fit Model, that you could use off the rack suits. Well, but it had to have this 50% coverage. So the suit makers, who were making suits, now they're having to readjust things, but then they're also saying, well, these are the only approved cuts. Well, you said a person could wear an off the rack suit, but now you're saying it literally has to look exactly like this. It's just, again, it's confusing.
Sure.
Well, I don't think they thought it through.
No, they did not. Well, and even they said that there was a woman at the show who, when they checked their suit bottoms, her suit bottom was not approved, but they let her compete anyway. And again, it's like, this all could have been prevented.
Yeah.
You put this out there, yeah, you can wear an off the rack suit. It just can't have bling. It can't have connectors. And then you have people showing up with suits that aren't approved, but you still let them compete. I mean, it's just, again, the messaging around it is so confusing, which is going to make the standard then so confusing. And I think then it kind of negates the purpose of having this division to begin with, because we're just going to morph it right back into bikini again. And it's going to just, it's just going to mesh right in.
So like they're beta testing the category.
Yeah.
Tina said she wanted to try the fit model, but the suits are hideous.
I ordered a fit model suit, so we'll see how it is when it gets here. I ordered one, and because it was less expensive than ordering a posing suit. So I'm like, well, let's just try it, because Aaron said that potentially this could be a good category for me because I am under muscled for bikini. So I'm like, all right, fine. I'll order a fit model suit and see how it looks. So we'll see.
It'll be interesting.
See how hideous those bottoms are when they get here.
Adam says it's good because the guys who just wanted the IFBB pro title for their biz now have to get humbled publicly when they actually get on the stage with person. That is true.
Yeah, I like that one.
I never really. I know it's going to sound. People are probably not going to believe me, but I never even thought I'd win a pro card, and I just it happened way quicker and I'm not saying easy. I know I don't want to diminish anybody else that was on the stage with me, but it just happened quicker than what I thought it would. I didn't think that I would. Honestly, didn't think that I would get one. So I don't know. For me, I just love competing. It's not about, I think there are some people that just want to have that status. I really don't care whether I had the card or not. I love going through the contest prep. I love the process of getting on stage. I love bodybuilding. I love nutrition. I love training. I love all that. I just want, and I enjoy the camaraderie when you're backstage. Anybody who's competed, I mean, it's a great experience. You're there talking to the other guys. You all have had a shared journey. It's just a really cool experience. I mean, I've made some great friends backstage.
Yeah, agreed.
I don't really care about the pro card. I just want to compete at a level where I'm competitive with other people, and where I can put my best out there and see how I stand up against other people and have fun. That's it.
Did any of you see the posing criteria of bikini versus fit model? It's like the same thing.
Yes.
Yeah, it's the same thing except for instead of one model pose, they drop their leg off to the side or something. If I'm saying
they call it the stallion pose, and it's actually the pose that bikini started out with. So this is literally just retro bikini. That's the front pose is this. It's a kind of a hip popped backwards with your front foot really far out in front of you. And less of it it's an awkward looking pose. And then they say they don't want transitions, but you still have to figure out a way to turn around. And already there are people. So there are, bikini pros that are doing these, they're a bikini pro competitor. Now they're dropping down to fit model, or they're trying for their bikini pro card. They're nationally qualified and they just want an easy pro card. I think, it's really how it feels. And they're already doing tons of hair flipping and lots of all this stuff. They're literally just becoming bikini again. Even after one show, they're doing all kinds of flair. And that was the whole thing that Tyler was like, no, you come out, you hit your front pose, you hit your back pose, and that's it. If you walk, it would only be a walk to the back, but already people are embellishing because you still want to make it fun. But yeah, it kind of just seems like, yes, it's beta testing something that did not seem really well thought out. And it's kind of just allowing the athletes to be the ones doing whatever they want, because there's not a lot of clear definition aside from the stallion pose and the back pose. But then it's kind of well, whatever.
Yeah, I just saw the video. They put them side by side, and almost most of the routine was identical to me.
Yeah,
I
it
couldn't
is.
tell.
Aside from that front pose, it's the same.
Yeah, they didn't label them. I would have had no clue.
Right. Well, because that used to be the bikini pose. So I mean, you could
Yeah.
take you take a bikini competition from 2015, and it is the same.
Yeah.
Like it's the same pose.
Well, like in PCA and different organizations, they still have that pose you see frequently. Yeah.
Yeah, they still do that. They still do the stallion pose. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that retro bikini. Isn't that what classic physique is? Retro bodybuilding.
Right.
Pretty much. Minus the lat spread.
Kurt has the new. He sent me the new
What's up, Joel?
guidelines for TRT. I'm going to share this. This is so for anybody saying 300 milligrams is not TRT, you can eat a big one. I've already gotten demonetized. Dosing, it says injection pre-filled dosages forms 200 milligrams per week. Primary hypogonadism. So that's the type of so the preparation of the testosterone. So it would be 200 milligrams per milliliter. Primary hypogonadism. It says 50 to 400 milligrams intramuscular, 2 to 4 times a week. So 50 for transgender. It says 50 to 100 milligrams, and then 100 to 200 at 2 times a week. So up to 200 for that. So there you go. Those are the dosing protocols for TRT, in case anybody was wondering. So those guys that say the 300 milligrams is not TRT.
This
you
is
are
great.
incorrect.
Where did this come from again?
Kurt just sent it to me. I don't know. You have to ask him.
Mm-hmm.
He said these are the new guidelines.
No kidding.
Mm.
That's great.
It's going to upset a lot of people.
Yeah.
I mean,
one of the bigger problems that I think that we face is that people try to make a distinction between TRT and bodybuilding, and trying to draw that line as when everybody's vastly different is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah, very true.
Agreed.
There's plenty of people that we treat that don't feel a thing until they're on 300 milligrams a week.
I mean, I felt awful when I dropped down. I was just playing around last year with going down to lower doses, and I came down to, I don't know, what was it, 150? I think it was. Because my UGL testosterone was dosed at 300, so I did a half a cc a week. I felt awful.
Yeah.
150.
There's a lot of people who would. You have returning symptoms of hypogonadism at that level.
I felt horrendous on 100. 300 seems to be a perfect for me.
Yeah.
Cruise dose or TRT dose.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Ryan, with TRT though, what is like your number one feedback you're trying to get from the people? How they feel, or somewhat of what their like test levels are versus how they feel, or?
No, a good question. It's mainly resolution of symptoms. So we want to see all your symptoms resolved. And so it's like, it's, you know, for somebody who's just beginning, you start off kind of low and then you slowly titrate up until all their symptoms of hypogonadism are resolved. And most people have to go above 200 for that, or around 200 or above. Like, you know, there's some people who are very sensitive and below, you know, they do well on levels below 200. But for the majority of the people, it's 200 or above.
I'm guessing the people that do well on the low levels are probably high aromatizers.
Yeah, right. So, you know, the number one issue is estrogenic side effects. And of course, there's different ways to mitigate that. But, you know, some people, like, because testosterone will also, it increases tyrosine kinase, which increases the production of catecholamines. So some people are sensitive to the extra norepinephrine and epinephrine that's also produced from that. So,
so like too sympathetic, basically.
Right. Yeah. So they're in a sympathetic nervous state, but it's rare. That's actually rare. But sometimes, so some people do better at less than 200, like, you know, but it's more common that people completely resolve their symptoms at 200 or above.
Right, folks. Anybody got questions? Pop them in. There are not too many questions today.
Yes.
I saw a
vlog is on
methylene
YouTube.
blue one.
It's also linked in my Instagram profile. If you want to
Yes.
follow along with the trials and tribulations of a bikini competitor.
Yes.
Yeah.
Amy
Yeah,
has a
go.
vlog up on her channel.
That's right. All of
Yeah.
Amy's fans. There you go.
Yeah, Amy's vlogs are good.
Yeah, they are.
They're fantastic. You don't get
Mhm.
that intricate of a look into the mindset that it takes for a competitor like you do with Amy. I think it's great.
They
Yeah.
are raw. Like I don't edit them.
Yeah.
You know, it's really like they're very, very real, including my, calling Puxatawny Phil a beaver this morning.
Yeah.
Like that happened. I left that in.
I think that's important, the rawness to it. So people get a real
Yeah.
look on the inside.
Yeah. Just authentic. Like people just over edit stuff these days, and it just loses that genuine feeling.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I wish, there are times too when like I think back on like the videos I've done, I'm like, wow, like that's something I wish I had heard before I had to say it myself,
Mhm.
Tina is asking me about the Retatrutide experiment. I have done. Let's see. I'm about 2 weeks into it now. I upped the dose a little bit this week to 1.5 milligrams. I tolerated the 1 milligram pretty fine. The 1.5 milligrams, I had a little bit of. I'm going to overshare. Amy likes poop, so Amy won't mind this one. But
Bring
I
on
noticed-
the poop talk.
Trigger warning, y'all.
I noticed like when I poop, like it's like oily, like all the oil is coming out of my stool.
Almost like Orlistat taking Orlistat.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll see like oil floating on the water if I eat a fatty meal. I'm like, oh, okay.
Is there any inhibition of lipase with it?
I would think it would improve it because it improves pancreatic function, right?
Yeah, interesting.
I don't know. Maybe that was just a temporary thing. I did notice this week a little bit of acid reflux with it. Nothing crazy. It hasn't like. Of course, I'm on a pretty low dose. It hasn't affected my appetite thus far. I still can eat. I have noticed it's sort of cut the edge off of the sugar cravings, like like the urge to swing by McDonald's and get a McFlurry or eat a entire family size bag of Swedish fish, things like that. I just don't, or like getting dessert after dinner. I just
Mhm.
don't want that right now. Like
A neat thing for me is being able to stop, like like having like accurate readings of like, oh, I'm full, I can't eat anymore, I gotta stop, or like like I would usually like, oh, this is what I'm gonna eat, and I'm not gonna stop till it's gone, and then I'm like, oh, I want something sweet now, and I'm gonna eat way too much of that too. Oh, why do I feel sick? Like it's like I wasn't getting the right signals before, and now I am.
I just looked into. Oh yeah,
Go
sorry.
ahead, Nick.
I was just going to say, because what you said had me a little bit curious. I looked up GLP-1 agonists, and it says that it can have a indirect effect on inhibiting lipase by delaying gastric emptying. So that's how, and then it leads to increased fat excretion, not to the same like potency as Orlistat, but kind of a little bit. So that's probably why that happened.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. Let's see. Josh had a follow up here. He said the fascinating drugs GLP-1 suppresses appetite, GIP increases it, and glucagon should decrease it. Yeah, I've noticed like a neutral effect on my appetite. It definitely seems to like the pleasure signaling that you get from it. I have noticed. I don't know. Maybe it's not the Retatrutide. Maybe it's just that I've got taxes looming over my head and other stress on my shoulders that I don't care. But my anxiety has been a little higher. This week I've just been a little more on edge, and it definitely seems to have affected my sleep. Like I've had a bit of insomnia. I had the elevated pulse the first week. I don't know if you can see my watch. You can't see it. I can't get it twisted around, but my pulse is back down, and so I'm sitting here at 69. Perfect.
Nice.
That's good.
No
So that's
joke,
the
it's
perfect
69.
pulse rate, right, Colin?
That's the
No
sex
joke.
number, Amy. I don't know if you knew that.
I had no idea.
Yeah. So it's funny. Sometimes people point it out. It's the thing.
That's a thing, Colin. I didn't know that.
Yeah. It's, not many people know that.
All this time, had no
Yeah.
idea.
Wow. Okay.
Seems very
I'm
esoteric.
dyslexic, so
I'm
okay,
very-
I've always just thought that.
I'm very streetwise. So if you have any, other questions like that, you don't have to go to Urban Dictionary. You just come straight to me.
Folks, you follow Chewbacca Uncircumcised for more tips like this.
Yeah.
It's all in the name.
The depth of the wisdom on the Instagram page is deep.
I love being sarcastic with people on the. I dip into the comment section once in a while, and on my posts, and the people that just don't get sarcasm, I love fucking with them. One of my clients made a sarcastic response on some post I put up, and people were just like coming after him, and he's like, man, it's like these gym bros just don't get sarcasm, do they, man? I'm like, no, most of them don't. They're very literal. Pay your. What did you say?
You had the same idea I did. That's a funny one.
Pay your taxes, Paul, and you'll sleep like a baby. Oh man, yeah, taxes I fucking hate. It's not the getting. This is a bodybuilding show, but the IRS. I heard a comedian say this. It's like the only place that tells you that you owe them money, but then they won't tell you how much money you owe them, and then if you pay them the wrong amount of money, then they throw you in jail.
That's right.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right, well, will you just tell me how much I owe you? No,
Like,
you have to
yes.
guess.
That's up to you to figure out how much. You owe.
Ain't that the truth, Joel? Ain't that the truth? Everyone's looking for a reason to get offended.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, we want to grab a couple of questions.
Yeah. Let's see here. Zionic 484. Can I use Dyhidroberberine instead of Jardiance? Also, how much should I use?
I use both of those. He means Empagliflozin. That's just a brand name for Empagliflozin. Yeah. Honestly, I mean, it depends on the individual. There's no kind of blanket answer to that statement or that question.
Justin was talking about Jardiance made him feel like he was on his deathbed.
Yeah, it makes me go severely hypoglycemic.
Well, yeah, because you're excreting all of your sugars through your urine.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's another thing I meant to talk about Retatrutide. I did my high day. Was it Friday? It was Friday. I did my high day. And I usually take, I do 150 grams of carbs per meal. So it's 900 and then 50 in my intro. So 950 is what I've been doing for my high day. And I usually do 5 units of Humalog. Sorry, I do 200 pre and post workout. So it's 1,050. So I usually do 5 units of Humalog every other meal on my high day. On top of my Lantus that I have to take regularly because I'm type 1B diabetic. I took the 5 units of Humalog the other morning and I went hypo as fuck from 150 grams of carbs. So it is clearly helping my fasting glucose levels. With my diabetes, usually if I can get it in the high 90s, low 100s, it's about as good as it gets.
It's been in the 80s, yeah.
It was in the low 80s.
Wow.
Yeah, on that low of a dose.
Wow.
And
Impressive.
in 2 weeks. Yeah, it made
That's
that
impressive.
drastic of a difference. Oh, I'll be curious if I can get my A1C back down in the 5s, that's about as, that's pretty good for me.
What is it usually, Paul? Where does it usually set?
In contest prep, I can get it down to like 5.5, 5.7. Off season, it'll get up in the mid to low 6s. I mean, I know it's not great, but that's just how it is when you're fucking diabetic.
Yeah, no, that's not that's not scary for being diabetic. Like that's especially since you weren't really
that
doing.
were like 9, 10, 11.
Yeah, I've seen them like 14.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had one dude, his fasting glucose levels were like 300.
Sean says his girlfriend's on semaglutide. She can't keep anything down. She's withering away. Her muscles are just coming off.
I think that is a dosing issue. I'll let Ryan go ahead.
No, sorry. But like I see that like one of the problems with the way that semaglutide is prescribed is we're just giving it to obese people, right? And there's, you know, aside from some other things, there's reasons why people are obese, and giving people semaglutide is not addressing the root cause of obesity, right?
Yeah.
So when we just throw semaglutide in front on top of somebody who is in a catabolic state from hormone deficiency, then they're going to be using their muscle mass as a primary source of energy over their fat stores, and you're just going to burn muscle. And then you get people who become skinny fat, or just like they look gaunt from the appearance. Like Al Roker is a great example. He lost a lot of weight. However, he did it. It's the same concept of just
it's the same thing with bypass patients.
You look terrible, right? You just don't look good. You don't look healthy. You don't look good. And even though you've lost all this weight, so you know that's a lot of times I say that the hormone replacement therapy is synergistic with these GLP-1s because it will change your body from being in a catabolic state to an anabolic state. Now you're preserving muscle mass. Now your body's switching energy pathways to actually use fat stores as a primary source of energy. And you can actually lose more fat than muscle.
Yeah, you still have to address the dietary component. That's the thing that's been so interesting with these is, you know, the people are all super hyper focused on like protein now. So you're getting all these weird protein junk foods. But like perhaps if we had addressed this dietary component first, you know, got your diet in check, got you exercising, adding in weight bearing at the same time. And like Ryan said, like with hormone adjustment too, I mean, you just give somebody a medication and just eat a lot of protein and they're still not working out. Well, yeah, they're just you can eat all the protein you want. You're still just going to not look great when you lose a lot of weight. It's going to be a certain type of look. And it is like, we see patients a lot of the times who, you know, have lost massive amounts of weight, either through, you know, diet and exercise, bypass, you know, now all these GLP-1s. And there is just a look about someone who has done it through extreme measures that are different than the look of people who
they look like they could be leveled by a stiff wind.
Yeah.
Well, and just the quality of their skin and like even their coloration and their pallor, like everything about it, like you can tell the difference between, and this is no shade at all. This is just observation from many years of doing this. Someone who, let's say, lost 50 pounds through diet and exercise and lifestyle change and lost it slowly over the course of a year versus someone who lost 150 pounds with GLP-1 medication over the course of 8 months, they look like two completely different people. Like there's no comparison.
I mean, you look malnourished.
And people who we just use the GLP-1s to as a Band-Aid to this larger underlying issue, they're going to need to be on them for the rest of their life to keep that weight off because you haven't fixed the root of the problem. But now if we can, like you said, with diet, exercise, hormone, you know, address the hormones, lifestyle changes with the GLP-1s, now eventually you can come off that medication and you should be able to keep the weight off.
Yeah, and people don't seem to be more motivated to start a little bit of resistance training to keep their muscle mass or eat any better because they're just not thinking about food in general. They think they have the magic pill. You know, so if I was Harry, if it's prescribed, Sema seems to be high side effect for most people and kind of a sensitive GLP-1. Maybe see if you can get tirzepatide, but it sounds like the dose is already too high regardless of what you do. It's probably too high. If you can't hold something down, you still have to operate as a normal human. You still need to have function. You still need to be able to do your job. You know,
your body still needs nutrients.
And retaining muscle over a period of your life is the most important thing for life longevity. You know, so.
All right, we have any other questions?
Trying to fix a lack of nutritional literacy with the drug, bad idea.
Absolutely.
And Josh used to be a client.
Josh wants to know if you have a client stay pretty lean in the off season coming into prep directly from the TRT phase. Do you normally just up the gear initially or lower the food also?
That's essentially what I did last year going into my show. I pretty much just ran TRT and then we tapered up I kind of soft started prep 20 weeks out with Justin last year, and then we tapered up the doses. I mean, really, the only change Justin makes initially when we start prep is he usually just moves me from 1 high day down to 2, or sorry, 2 down to 1. That's really the only change. And I don't know. My approach is like if people are tightening up and they're looking better, I leave the food alone.
Same.
I don't touch the fucking food unless I have to.
Yeah, and I want to identify the variables too. So like if I put 2 things in play, lowering food and then upping gear, you might be getting them to retain weight on the scale because the gear goes up and then losing fat at the same time. So yeah, they might be recomping and looking good, but I want to identify what one thing's doing. It won't take long to see what's happening with the gear being upped. And then you can make a nutritional change to get yourself on pace for the long term of the prep to a point. That's what I do. And yeah, like Paul says, keeping the food in is always going to be probably a better look. You're going to get better gym performance. You're going to recover better. And also one quick thing, I see people always saying, well, what I did last prep too, compared to what they're going to do this prep, every prep's going to be different for people too. Like, what you ate last time is not going to be the same diet. What you did for a gear load, how you're going to look, how much you're going to be on stage. Everything's really it's almost a whole new experiment too. Each prep, even for the same client. So don't think you always have your client figured out, what to expect. You're going to have a good idea, but you're not going to know exactly,
Yeah, I honestly, I let the pictures dictate.
Yeah.
If I see physique's improving, I've talked about it before, but like my way of evaluating, and this is kind of where I've gotten to, like the scale is a tool. Like you can use the scale in a couple ways. Like if I see like a rapid drop in weight in a week, like 5, 6, 7 pounds, I know that's not fat. Right? There's no fucking way you're metabolizing 7 pounds of fat in a week. No, right? I mean, we can do the math on it. That's what, like 25,000 calories. You weren't in that deep of a deficit.
Yeah.
So we've had some sort of water or glycogen loss. At the beginning of a prep, when you're just cleaning up your diet, it's probably just water weight coming off from the sodium intake being changed. Eating less carbs, but like as you get deeper into prep, like I get scared when I see that because that's like glycogen depletion. And we want to glycogen full. It's like once you get severely glycogen depleted, it is really hard to get people top back out. Like once you flatten, especially bigger guys, like once they flatten out, it's like impossible to bring them back. What I've found. So if I see a big drop like that, then I'll put food back in or do like a really high day, or sometimes run like a half high day into another. I mean, Dave and I did this the last prep. We would put some extra food in. That was one thing I picked up from AJ Sims. And the same deal, like if I don't see the scale moving, but the pics are getting better, then I don't care. So it's like this balancing act between the pics and the, and I'll have people also too, like I'll have them on contest prep and they do a high day and their weight jumps up and then they freak the fuck out. And I'm like, that's just glycogen retention. You didn't get fatter.
Yeah. And that's kind of the response you want. You want them to actually fill out a little bit, because it's more of a concern when somebody's prepping and you carb them up and their body doesn't respond, their body doesn't carb up. Like that's not what you want. Like I know the athlete mindset, when they're in prep, they kind of hope that they're going to drop weight because then they think that means another high day and they get to eat more food again. But it's counterproductive. Like when you have a high day, you want your body to be responsive and not that diet fatigue that you don't replenish those glycogen stores. So you actually, you want that weight to spike generally, or at least hold after a high day.
That's another thing about the high days too that people need to consider too is people expect immediate changes. Like glycogen takes 24 to 48 hours to fully synthesize. It's usually 2-3 days out. That's another one Kurt and I were talking about the other day. It drives me nuts where guys are trying to carb up the day before and the day of their show, especially like the day before when you're pulling water out. Like you're not going to synthesize. All that food's just going to sit in your stomach. You're going to be a big bloated mess on stage. The time to carb up is like 2, 3, 4 days out.
I think that's where a lot of people go wrong too, thinking like that they've gotten away with like a big cheat meal because the very next day their weight won't be up. But like, what was your weight in like 2 or 3 days?
Sure.
Like what was your average for the week?
Yeah.
Amy, don't say that.
Well, you're the only one who gets away with it, Paul. Paul can eat a pizza and like donuts, and the next day his weight's down, and then it's down even more the next day.
No, I told you my genetic gift is losing weight and getting fat at the same time. I am definitely not as.
I can
hard
actually
as
do
some
that
of
without
us.
trying very hard.
Yeah. It's funny too is people forget that there's other parts of being full on show day too. It's not just the food that you've loaded; it is your water and your electrolyte manipulation. And if there's anything you can do show day or the night before, is your water manipulation.
Yeah, water. Yeah, water.
So
On the show day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I played around with that too. Like sometimes I'll have like before finals, I'll have people eat like just like a salty meal, like some like get a burger and fries and then drink a soda. And the water and sodium, it's not so much that the carbs are working any sort of it's psychologically, I think it maybe helps them out a little bit, but you get that acute increase in blood volume, so you're more vascular. Waterfall of salt, and then you will get some additional fullness more likely from the sodium and the sugar. Initially, it's more likely just sodium and fluid being pulled into the muscle. I would have to venture.
And you might drop cortisol too because you just had McDonald's. You feel good.
McDonald's is the best way. I remember AJ was like, I was talking to him. He was like, "Man, don't do that shit."
I knew I wasn't going to win my first show when Paul told me in between more prejudging and finals to go get McDonald's. I was like,
You figured me out.
That's funny.
I knew.
Like people tell me like, I'm like, hey, where were you lined up? Or if I see pictures and I'm like, yeah, go get something to eat and get some fluids in you, man. I mean, they've already decided the placings after prejudging, unless you're in the finals, and even then, I think it's like 90% done. They usually line you up where they want you, and they pretty much have figured it out.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't the case this year, though, Dave.
No, he did better. Yeah,
you did better. Yeah. You placed really well this year, and one could argue you should have placed higher.
Always next year.
Yep.
Let's go.
All right. We have any more questions?
We got a few. Quick one from Sean. He wants to know how we're doing our Retatrutide doses.
Taking it twice a week.
Yeah, I split mine up twice a week. Just simple, easy, works for me.
I've seen various things on the half-life on it. Like on the study, they said it was 7 days, but I was reading about it. It could be anywhere from 4 to 7, depending on how you metabolize it. So I would think twice a week probably makes the most sense.
But when I was first starting to use it, I was just listening to my body, and I was like, oh, I feel myself starting to, my appetite like raging back. And so I would do another dose, and that ended up working out to two a week for me.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Seems to have a pretty quick response. Like if I took a dose right now, this time tomorrow, I'd get the hunger suppression if the dose was right.
Oh yeah,
very
it seems
quick.
to act quickly.
Yeah. When I was doing once a day shots, I was doing overlapping it every 6 days. For some reason, I just didn't want to have a lag of feeling like any hunger coming back right after the show. So, yeah, I don't think listening to your body is an issue at all. Yeah.
Brian, is that what you guys usually have people start out with too? Is just twice a week?
For the Retatrutide, that's what I was actually going to confer about. It depends on what the goal is. Like, I think it would be different, like more frequent injections of it if the goal was just to stay lean. I think if your goal is to really reduce like obesity, you may need to take like single bolus bigger doses to really get that appetite suppression.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Because if you're just doing doses to stay lean, you're not really trying to reduce your appetite a lot. It's more for the other benefits. But I think if somebody really is, for obesity, which is a lot of times what we prescribe it for, you need to take that bigger bolus.
For reference, Chase did a video that showed, how you have my the website, my steroid plotter, where it shows like your blood serum concentration depending on your dosing. There is one for GLP-1s. And Chase was kind of showing how to look at, if you are to microdose, where you're going to, what kind of levels you're going to have of not suppression. I don't know what the metric was, but the concentration of it. So, but it did seem like, from my experience and from what he was showing, and what got me to start microdosing was, again, like you kind of said, Ryan, getting one bolus dose kind of gives me the most hunger suppression, and then it tapers off towards the end of the week. But this microdosing, if you get, like, I'm just doing Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, 0.75 milligram, and that's getting me enough suppression. It's getting me the kind of the health benefits. It's not messing up my digestion. It's just where I want it. Yeah. So depending on what you're trying to do with the peptide is what you should think about.
Yeah, I think if you're looking for fat loss and weight loss, the only times you split the dose up is if you can't tolerate the large bolus and you get too many side effects. Yeah, that's the only time. Yeah, otherwise, big bolus is better.
Let's see.
All right, what do we got next here?
Leo is on 200 milligrams of testosterone a week for the past 4 years. He wants to know if HGH is really the best way to wake up testicular function. He's not happy with his semen volume. Any protocol recommended for HGH and HRT?
Does he mean HCG?
I think he probably means.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like, yeah,
I'm sorry. I think you're right. He probably meant HCG.
Yeah, HGH would not do that.
No.
Well, yeah, and it would depend too. Like, if you overuse HCG, like the luteinizing hormone receptors in the Leydig cells or in the testicles can downregulate more easily so than androgen receptors. So if you overuse HCG, you can actually desensitize yourself. So that's why we really need to kind of be careful with the HCG. So when people have desensitized themselves to HCG, I usually have them take 2 weeks off to let all the receptors upregulate again, and then start again. But we only want 2 boluses per week, right? Just do 2 per week. And that allows the fluctuation, but it also allows the receptors to upregulate again.
And would you say maybe combining it like dual therapy with like HMG, like recombinant follicle stat? I don't know. I think that'd be more effective, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that would increase sperm count. So yeah, that would help with semen volume. So yeah, HMG. Yeah.
I should know this, but Ryan, does HCG, if you go too high in a dose of HCG, do you get estrogen effects at all?
Yeah. So it does spike estrogen, and the rest of the steroidogenesis too. For some people, it can actually spike progesterone, but yeah, it will definitely spike estrogen.
I always had massive issues when I tried to run HCG. It just made things way worse for me.
Most people do. Most people actually have problems with it. That's why it's a complicating factor, and you really have to dial in your HCG dose. If you're taking TRT, the problem was, some of the antiquated notions of the providers were, okay, let's give people HCG with their testosterone in order to maintain HPTA function. And they just would give the typical replacement therapy dose of HCG, which is 1,000 to 1,500 IUs per week. So they would just add that to testosterone, and that's too much. That's 2 replacement doses of testosterone together, and for most people, that's actually too much. So if you're on testosterone, you really have to take a minimal dose of HCG, more like 500 IUs per week, or even 400.
It sounds 15. Like Leo might be another good person to chat with Ryan off air about this. It sounds like he's got some answers for you, man.
Yeah, I could help.
One quick thing, Ryan, would you ever suggest someone like Leo actually coming off the 200 milligrams of TRT and just trying HCG alone?
Monotherapy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, I guess it would depend on his goals. I guess I didn't know exactly his goals. He's saying that
his goals are to shoot fat loads, Ryan.
Well, but that is such a great question, Ryan, because I thought the same thing. Like, is he just dissatisfied with the quality of his ejaculate, feeling and sensation, or is it actually an issue of him wanting better sperm motility?
He said volume,
wanting a higher. Yeah, so
over the counter supplements would help with that too, like lectin and stuff like that. He could just make a dose that.
Yeah, it sounds more like a problem of maybe like he's been using HCG too much and he's desensitized, so it's affected his ejaculate volume. But the problem with just going to HCG monotherapy is for most people it doesn't work. You feel like shit. You feel like shit. It's not really a sustainable way to actually increase your testosterone to an effective level. Right?
Okay.
A porn star or something?
Yeah.
I've never really cared that much about how big
The porn star cycle.
the loads are.
I never looked for more of a mess to clean up, so I don't.
I don't know. I've never had a girl say, "Man, I can't be with you. This is just
It's
not
Or testicle size too, because like a lot of guys are really concerned about their testicle size, and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Like, what girl is out there going, "Oh man, like I like that guy, but his balls are just." Too like, who said
Do they realize it's going to make their Johnson look bigger?
Yeah, that's why.
that?
It-
Who cares about?
if the eggplant is good, the grapefruits don't matter.
Yeah, I don't know.
If
I mean,
they're
unless-
grapefruits, that's a problem. Like,
homemade-
that
might
might-
be a
that-
tumor.
That might be kidney failure right there.
That is a problem. How do you?
And
How do you
this
wear
is why we're
pants?
here, folks, for quality entertainment and advice.
Uh,
Follow us more. Follow us for more of this.
we at least we started with bodybuilding. I mean, it's not our fault that we ended up on balls.
I mean,
This is a
every bodybuilder-
bodybuilding related concern.
It's a
Bodybuilders
part
have
of the
small
body.
balls.
Every bodybuilder wants bigger balls and loads.
Joshua's got a point there, though.
What's
He's
that?
got a point there. Like that might be a.
Yes.
That's a fair point.
What did you say? I didn't see it.
I don't
Uh,
know.
the- I'll read the
How badly
comment.
do you want your stream demonetized?
At this point, it's already demonetized.
He
Josh, you're one of a
suggested
kind. You really
that
are.
yeah, he's the real MVP. He is.
I don't know that I can
Oh yeah, I see it.
describe his statement in a politic manner.
Yeah.
I'm trying.
And Josh, never get a profile picture. I like the anonymous part. Of it.
I gotta meet Josh sometime. Josh, if you're ever at the Arnold or the Olympia, man, we gotta
Yeah.
hang out, man.
Yeah.
You are a funny dude.
Oh, God.
Let's see. Do one more or two more? What do you? How long do you want to go today, Paul?
Let's
Someone
wrap up by
needs,
1:30.
Someone needs
That's
fat
all.
education.
Strategy.
Can someone do a contest prep without any added fats whatsoever, with the exception of supplemental fish oil daily? He says
I did it.
Roman does that.
I did it with no issues.
No issues.
Yeah,
From,
no.
Yeah,
too.
just trace fats and essential fatty acids from a fish oil supplement. I mean, if you're not like starving yourself, then you don't have to lower calories, say to like 1,000 calories a day. You should still be able to get a decent amount of trace fats, and like, yeah, if you're eating good quality foods, it's going to be a decent profile.
That's a Justin Harris trick. One of the things Justin likes to do is like when you get towards the end of prep, he'll take like 2 weeks and he'll just cut the fats to 0, and you'll take a couple fish oil pills every day. Like when you get like down to like where you're just trying to get that last little bit off.
but
Yeah.
you wouldn't do an entire prep like that
No,
necessarily, would
I
you?
mean, you can. You probably
Is there a-
feel like dog shit.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is it
Yeah.
Could versus should.
exactly?
I think you'd be
Yeah.
handcuffing yourself too. I mean, fats do give you an advantage to be able to kind of maybe slow the metabolism.
Yes, we said ball chase.
We said it's like putting the bat signal in the sky.
Yeah.
He's poking his head in. Somebody say balls? What? What's up, Chase? We miss you, bud.
Why didn't Chase come
Feeling
on?
better.
We changed this to Sunday so Chase could come on.
He hasn't been feeling
Yeah.
well or something.
He's been
Yeah.
sick.
Oh no. Get well, Chase.
Yeah,
Get
yeah.
well.
Yeah.
He had shingles really bad. Really kicked
Oh,
his
that's
ass, like,
right.
Really bad.
That would have been horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One last thing I was just going to mention about the question though for prep on with no fats is some people seem to hold their fullness better with fats. I mean, you got to know how you react with fats into your diet too. You might actually put yourself at a disadvantage because you think there's some other better advantage you're getting.
There are some people I prep on no carb higher fat diets. I do that occasionally. Usually, it's kind of the old school body opus shit loading diet I'll do sometimes,
Mm.
where it's just like fish and asparagus and some some fats, or meat, whatever, meat and vegetables and some fats, and then once a week you'll have a high carb day. That's kind of the old school, early 2000s, late 90s way of bodybuilding dieting. That's
Nothing wrong with
what guys
that.
used to do.
Still works.
Yeah. People are going to hate it, but it's going to be different for everybody. Everyone's going to
Dude,
respond slightly differently.
I get flat as a pancake if I don't eat carbs.
Yeah, I'm the same. If I eat too many fats, I get raging diarrhea. So I just have to,
Same with me, man. It just
yeah,
leaks out my butthole.
yeah, and that's not fun.
No, it's not fun.
Oh, that's a
All
good
right.
drug question there. Good medication question.
Mm.
You want to grab that one, Nick? We'll pull that one up by Donald.
Valsartan, ampolidine versus
Amlodipine.
okay, I'm spelling them as they write them. I'm not a fucking pharmacist.
Yeah. Well,
I knew I was going to get telmisartan right. I'm familiar enough with that one, but
yeah.
ampolidine sounds like a Greek goddess. I don't fucking know.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to actually.
Does she have big balls?
BP management while using supplements.
I'm familiar with valsartan, telmisartan, and nebivolol, but is ampolidine like an alternative for beta blocker?
It's a calcium channel blocker.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
I'll tell you my experience with my doctor prescribed me amlodipine with calcium channel blockers. They're great if you want to drop all your weights by 20% in the gym.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say. Like the calcium ions are pretty important for lifting weights.
They work. It'll lower your blood pressure, but expect to be weak as fuck.
See, if you can't lower your blood pressure with diet and an ARB and or a beta blocker, I think you've got bigger issues to worry about.
Sure.
I mean, that's like sound the alarm bells kind of situation. Yeah.
And if you're still,
I don't even know how to answer this.
I'm not a fan of calcium. I've tried every blood pressure. I've had chronic. Well, I wouldn't say chronic. Everybody in my family has high blood pressure. My daughter is 17 years old and is on blood pressure medicine already. It's just a genetic thing, I guess, in my family.
Yeah.
I've been on blood pressure medicine since I was in college, and believe me, I've been on every fucking kind there is. The ARBs tend to sit the best with me.
Yeah.
I've used ACE inhibitors, and the problem with ACE inhibitors, I end up getting cough. That fucking dry cough is just so annoying.
Yeah.
Calcium channel blockers just make you weak as fuck. That's what I had. Like I was a noticeable decrease in my strength when I took a calcium channel blocker, and nebivolol is the only beta blocker that I would use as an athlete because it doesn't seem to limit the upper rate of being able to get your pulse high enough to actually get a cardiovascular workout.
Yeah. So I'd say if you're lifting weights, if you don't need severe like blood pressure management, I would say the latter's better, like telmisartan and nebivolol. But nebivolol has the added bonus of the nitric oxide increase, so that's going to help with training performance. But if you want an effective beta blocker, you don't have to use nebivolol. You could use bisoprolol. That's a fantastic beta blocker. Metoprolol, that's a little usually used for different applications, but I know some people do still use that. So I think like Paul said, the calcium channel blocker, if that's what that drug is, that will fucking tank your blood pressure. But if you're going down the route of like more anxiety kind of driven elevated heart rate, like borderline tachycardia and some mild blood pressure, then the second would probably be a better fit.
All right, we want to grab one more.
Sure. Sharp Home Solutions wants to know what your ancestral origin is, Paul.
Mine.
Are you
German?
Your ancestral origin is it white people? I'm just curious.
Vikings. No, I am. Barnett is a Scottish last name. My dad's family were Scots-Irish.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so my family's been here in the U.S. since Jamestown, since the 1600s.
Oh wow.
Wow.
My
That's
dad's
cool.
family. I have a little bit of American Indian in my family. My great grandmother was American Indian, so I'm the whitest American Indian on the face of the planet.
What's your
Does that mean you can claim all of those like incentives and
I
benefits
don't
because
know
you're
if
like
I.
1/16th Indian?
I don't know.
yeah,
Maybe I don't know.
probably,
I've never
but he
tried.
won't do it, even though I've asked him so I can get some peyote. But thankful.
And then like my mom's family, they're all fucking German. They're just German through and through. My mom's family have been here forever too. They were I did my family tree, and my grandfather on my mom's side, they were Hessians. Fought on the wrong side of the Revolutionary War. Yay. And then my mom's mother's family, they were Mennonites. So like that area that I grew up in Appalachia, there's a lot of Scots Irish, a lot of German people, and then there were Indians that lived in that region. So that's kind of how when I did the DNA test, I was more German than I was anything on the.
Interesting.
I'm
Maybe a lot of the Scottish on your father's side was actually like German immigrants that moved to Scotland way back, and
It's
maybe
the
that
whole Anglo-Saxon.
Anglo-Saxon, yeah.
Yeah, I'm an Anglo-Saxon, basically.
Mm.
People built to swing axes and hit each other over the head with clubs, live in cold places, and be tall,
Nice.
raid villages, take your women, that kind of stuff.
Be tall.
Oh, speaking of raid villages and take your women, I had a mild bit of rage yesterday, and I'm not even on anything, really. I was, it wasn't really me. I think I scared my daughter and my partner yesterday. We were driving to the grocery store, and there was like an intersection, and a guy just came fucking flying through, so he wouldn't let me through. And I was starting to pull out, and then I stopped and let him go, and he flipped me off when he went by and honked his horn.
Oh,
What?
And Marissa joked, she's like, "You should just park next to him." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's a good idea." She's like, "No, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that." So
you
guess
sound
what I
you
did?
sound like me. Yeah.
I pulled up right next to him. I parked right next to him. And what do you know? He gets out of the car, and he's 5'4", and he didn't say shit.
Was he driving a Mini Cooper?
Crazy.
No, he was driving a RAV4, I think it was. That's
Oh, wow.
ridiculous.
It never
Yeah.
fails to amuse me how people forget like that they
Yeah.
aren't their vehicle. Like,
Yeah,
you're actually a small primate inside of that vehicle. You
Yep.
remember
Yeah.
that, right?
It's kind of like the whole keyboard warrior situation, but on the road.
I just said loudly, I'm like, yeah, you're not such a big guy now, right? He wouldn't even make contact. His wife was like, just like shuffling him into the. It was 40 degrees out, and I made sure to take my sweatshirt off. And left
Good
in the
man.
car.
I can't tell you how many half-drinking coffees have gone out my window from people flicking me off and just right across their windshield.
Do you just like keg your coffee at them? Yeah, yeah. I see. I do that, and my fiance gets pissed off at me.
It's a New Englander thing. If you mess
Yeah.
around, you better have your windows up because something's coming through the window.
My response depends on how much bodybuilding TRT I'm on. When I
Yeah.
I used to ride. Well, I'm the annoying guy that rides his road bike on the street, but I know Colin wants to kill me. But I used to be that guy. But once in a while, people be an asshole or whatever, and I had my Camelback squirt bottle, and I'd roll up next to him and just
That's pretty funny.
give him a little squirt on the windshield. They'd be like, "What?"
Adam had to go and pay money for a question, so we'll grab
All
his
right,
question.
Adam, we'll get your question. God damn it!
He said that Evan Centopani did a full day of eating and he ate 1,500 calories worth of fat and looks phenomenal. What's going on in this man's body? It seems wild.
I'm convinced he could do anything and look good. I'm convinced. Like, did you see that guy at 21 when he competed, or 22? Like, he looked like a freaking monster.
No.
Yeah.
I will never forget that Ronnie Coleman was prepping on Denny's before he
Oh
met
my
Chad
God.
Nichols.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
there are some people that
Outliers.
they are called genetic outliers.
Yeah. You can't
I'll be
base-
honest with you.
Yeah.
I can eat ungodly amounts of food and stay relatively lean.
Mhm.
I could probably get away with eating pretty shitty as long as I'm in the gym. If I don't go to the gym, I turn into a fat sack of potatoes. But I can, Colin, Amy, you guys have seen me eat. I can get away with some trash and still look okay. It's just my dad was the same way. My dad lived off of tasty cakes and McDonald's his entire life.
Yeah, he had abs.
He had abs until he was 65. So
Unbelievable.
I never looked at a weight in his life and had forearms like Popeye. I just like, it's just genetics.
Yeah.
I think it's a good idea to address, right here, the outliers, like we were talking about, right? We can't base, our advice on outliers. So you get that all the time. You say, oh, you give a, for the general population, you give a kind of a generality, or, most people can't do this or this. And then you always have that person who goes, I know a guy, and it's like, screw that guy, because he's an outlier, and we're not gonna change the way that we're trying to educate people based on the one guy who can do these amazing things, right? So like, screw that guy. Here's how you should really, educate people, and here's where you should stay with regards to advice.
Darren says it's not 100%. All about me. You're wrong, Darren. So that's where you're wrong.
1,500 calories. That's what about 160, 170 grams of fats.
Yeah, I mean that's probably. I wouldn't be surprised if that's what the average American ate. Well, no, I did that post the other day. It was around 110 grams is what the average adult male eats.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean that 1,500 calories is what 160 grams of fat.
Yeah,
about
something like
that.
Yeah. I can do somewhat basic math. Ish.
Yeah, it's in that ballpark. It's people love to point to genetic outliers. Like I see it with training. I see it with, I had Dr. Mike Israetel on earlier this week. It was a really good interview, and we were talking about that. We had a really long talk about that. But it's like taking free throw advice from Shaquille O'Neal when he shot 40% from the free throw line because he played in the NBA. He was 7'2" and 350 pounds. That's why the dude was in the NBA, not because of his great free throw shooting.
Yeah. But he couldn't free throw into a trash barrel if he wanted to.
No, the guy couldn't shoot the fucking basketball. But when you're that big, you can just bully everybody. I mean, there's just some people that just can do that. And it could be also, I mean, maybe Evan Centopani was eating that much fat and eating no carbs.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, the broad context of diet still matters.
Sure. It's kind of why sometimes it frustrates me. People don't take enough time to figure out their unique body, their response to food, their, if their digestion's not working all the time, they don't even stop to think, what am I eating? What's not agreeing with me? Very small things make big differences for sure.
Oh, definitely.
I was just going to say, I can't tell you how many guys I've had come to me with a diet. They say, I can't put on size, and they're eating 6,000 calories. I'll put them down to 4,500 of digestible food, and they grow like a weed.
Justin talks about that quite a bit with, he wonders sometimes, like if you just hit a limit of what you can actually process and you're just crapping the rest of it out. So it's like it's not that it invalidates thermodynamics, but if it never makes it into the thermic system of the body, it doesn't even count at that point.
Yeah. You see that affects scales when people do 10,000 calorie challenges. Like you eat a certain amount of calories in a 24-hour window, you are not going to process all of those calories beyond a certain point. And then, like if you've been chronically abusing food for like a long period, I mean, that threshold might get lower and lower, and the ceiling might be, like you said, 6,000 calories. And I mean, it's not what you eat, it's what you digest.
Sean makes a good point here. He said open bodybuilders have been building their metabolism up over for years. I mean, I see it with my clients all the time. Dave, you're an example, man. Like we dieted on way more food last year than what you did the year before, and you were even leaner and bigger.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny is I'm growing on less food in a weird way just by those small tactics of being mindful of my food.
And your body's getting more efficient too as you go.
Sure, exactly.
Justin talks about that all the time too. He said dieting, and I think this was the analogy he made. I wish he was on here today, but he told me it was like surfing. He's like, you just want to stay in the center of the wave. If you try to force it one way or the other, you're going to end up eating your face. So it's just like if you're cruising along, everything's going great. Sometimes the best thing you can do
maintain
is just not change a damn thing.
Yeah.
I know my clients sometimes will get like, "Hey, no changes this week." Like, "No, man, you're moving along.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're
But
moving along great."
that's the measure of a good coach, though. I mean, I think that's what separates great coaches from just decent coaches, is knowing when to not make changes, not knowing when to make changes. Like, it's pretty easy to know when you need to make a change, but it's a lot harder to know when, okay,
And then there's
I should probably just leave things how they are.
knowing that no changes need to be made, but then making a placebo change just so that they think you've changed something.
I caught Justin doing that. He added like 15 grams of carbs from that pre-workout meal.
Fuck is 15 grams good, dude?
And I'm like, dude, like that's like one Swedish fish. What the fuck is that? And he's like, all right, man. He's like, sometimes I just change stuff to make people feel like they.
That's really funny.
It's a difference between like calories and nutritive calories, I guess. Like, I don't know, maybe I'm not saying that right, but like what Benny's saying, like bad food makes skinny people stay skinny and fat people stay fat. Like you can be obese and getting a lot of calories in and still be under like a basic level of nutrition for your body.
Sure.
Based on
you
your
can be malnourished as an obese person.
Yes, malnourished as an obese person.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's sort of what Benny's getting at here, and that's it's
I've-
all about the food choices.
Yeah.
I've seen malnourished obese people before.
Yeah.
I've seen people
Yeah.
with severe like vitamin deficiencies and
They look sick. They look very sick.
It makes me
Yeah.
sad.
That kind of reminds me too, another little thing. It's a little off topic, but nutrient timing too. Like people always say, as long as you get all your meals in by the end of the day, it's not a huge difference of nutrient timing. I've noticed with a lot of my coaching clients and myself specifically that nutrient timing plays a big role. Like give you one example over a week's period of time, not on a daily time frame, but Paul's come to find out that my low days being extremely low and my high days being extremely high, and just a nice baseline for my medium days work best for me. But let's say that's let's say that's whatever X amount of calories per week. But if I change that and I have it more distributed, it definitely plays a different role on me for sure.
Yeah, you look better when we do that. You definitely stay leaner. You hold less water.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sort of the same way too. I like keeping my low days pretty low, and then my high days I'll push up. I'll even fast sometimes on my low days.
Yeah. No, definitely. Yeah.
I mean, you think about the nutrient timing, like even just like around a workout too. I mean, you're gonna have an uptake in GLUT4 transport and things like that. So it makes more sense to eat more carbohydrates and probably get some amino acids in there during that window, because you're going to make better use of those carbohydrates and how that energy is going to be stored and manipulated and used by the body. Anyway, anything else, guys?
I'm gonna get going. It's like 4:30 a.m. I've got to get up at 7:30 to drop the fiance off.
Oh my god, dude, go to sleep.
See you guys.
Bye, Nick.
What were you saying, Amy?
Just about the optimal versus doable. You know, it's kind of the same thing with nutrition. Like getting it in, yes, but like, is that going to be optimal for even things like brain function? You know, I think people always have this a reward kind of sense around food, as we've talked about a number of times, but really you're eating to fuel activity that's coming, not activity that's past. I mean, with except for like muscle breakdown and repair. So if you undereat for the activity that's coming, you're always going to be trying to play catch up. And is that optimal? Absolutely not.
It's like staying up later than you should and then trying to make the sleep up later, like Nick's going to be doing.
Yeah.
I did want to address this one real quick. Lucas was asking, would you agree with Poliquin when he said you have to earn your carbs? I mean, that's sort of the beauty of the carb cycling diet that most bodybuilders are running now. It's sort of like the thing that Justin pioneered, but it's self-regulating. Like your days when you're not having high energy expenditure, the carbs are at a minimum or even zero. And then you're, once or twice a week, you will have days where you push the carbs really high to fill out glycogen. I think people underestimate how much glycogen a large bodybuilder can handle or store. Really, like a lot of people don't like. It's a revelation when I push people up and they realize that they're not getting fat eating 1,000 grams of carbs. Because of glycogen depletion and how much glycogen a large bodybuilder can actually synthesize. Even women, I see it. You know, I have women that are eating 500 grams of carbs on a high day and not gaining body fat.
I think Jackie's up to 600.
Jackie's insane.
Wow.
Freak.
That's awesome.
Insane.
On her refeed days, what are her normal days? Like, what's her normal training day?
Well, so they do a high, medium, low day scenario, and her high is like 600 carbs, like actually over 220 protein, good amount. And she'll do 3 of those a week. And I think her medium's probably like 380 to 420 of carbs. I don't know what her low days are, to be honest.
I remember
Her big girl meals are definitely getting bigger.
Yeah,
I
sure.
remember working with her before she switched over to Karina. I've never seen a woman that could eat as much food as she could and stay lean.
It's great.
The genetic elite.
Oh, she is definitely. I remember initially, I think I told her and Dave, she's going to be a pro in a year or two.
She's watching the show in the other room, so now she comes in with her spreadsheet. What is your high day?
Oh, my high day is 700 carbs right now.
700.
Not mistaking.
The low day is 330. Medium day 573.
Wow.
Wow.
701 for her high day, and that's all direct macros.
That is incredible, Jackie. Wow. Congrats. I
love
mean,
it.
like,
How much do you weigh right now, Jackie?
143.
140.
wow.
That's great.
Yeah.
I mean, your
That is
pics,
amazing.
your
What was
recent
that?
pics look good.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, her back's been growing. She's been putting a lot of emphasis on her back, and it's like the second she changes up training or just a little extra volume, it just fills.
Mm.
It's amazing. Come along,
I hope
real
with that
good.
much carbs it would fill.
Yeah, that's great.
Hell yeah.
How's everybody doing though?
Good.
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 We were
All right,
talking about
folks.
balls.
Huh?
We were talking about balls and poop.
Yeah, you missed
Oh,
out.
yeah.
earlier.
Okay.
Yeah. Any thoughts? I don't know.
You missed the balls and loads
Yeah.
talk.
God damn it.
All right, folks, I'm going to wrap this one up. I am starving. I got to get some food in. We will see you guys next week. We appreciate each and every one of you.
Thank you.
Even though I love talking about myself more than anybody else. I can't wait to see.
It's not all about you, Paul.
Me. It's not all about me. All right.